The news today, however, is out of Arizona. J.J. Watt, three-time Defensive Player of the Year, is retiring. And he did so with a photo taken on Christmas night of his beautiful family and the little boy there, Koa, who was born late in October. People saw J.J. walking off the field with tears in his eyes after that loss to the Buccaneers Sunday. You knew something might be up. And we knew something might be up when we sat down with J.J. during Inside Training Camp Live in August. J.J. Watt, being a new dad, does it change your perspective on how long, soon to be a new dad, on how long you want to play? It's year 12.
I haven't thought a ton about that, but I definitely have thought about how excited I am that he's going to be able to see me play. Even if he's not going to remember it in any capacity, he's going to be able to see me play this season at least, and hopefully beyond. And to have a photo with my son in my uniform, for me, is one of the coolest things, and I'm really looking forward to that. And who knows, maybe I'll play long enough where he can remember some of my games.
You heard it here first.
He's not going to remember the games there, but little Koa did get that photo. Kind of cool that was the lasting moment. Family on the field there on Christmas. Mike Garafolo, Tom Pelissero, James Palmer with us live here on NFL Now. Tom, start with you. Why is now the time for J.J. Watt to walk away?
Randy, I think you see it in that interview. You certainly saw it in his Twitter post today. This is a player in J.J. Watt who had played 12 NFL seasons. His body had been through a lot, and in his mind, it feels like it's time. You think about J.J. Watt, he was one of the most dominant players, and still is one of the most dominant players, but truly, during that early stretch of his career in Houston, he may have been the most unblockable player on the planet. A guy who was a 5-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, also a Walton Payton Man of the Year award winner, and might have had additional accolades if not for a bunch of major injuries through the course of his career that he managed to come back from. Of course, he had the scare with his heart back in October, did not stop him from playing in a game that following Sunday. Truly one of the most unique individuals, a guy who dwarfs even Kurt Warner sitting next to him, and also a big personality and a guy who's done a lot away from the game as well.
James,
to piggyback off of what you're saying. Yeah, Andrew, let me just jump in here real quick. It's funny, I'm standing here at the Broncos facility where obviously there's headlines with them firing their head coach Nathaniel Hackett, but J.J. Watt's even brought up when I was talking to people inside this building. When they were watching the film of him throughout this year, some of the guys on the offensive side of the ball were like, it doesn't really look like the same J.J. Watt. And then all of a sudden they play against him last week, and he goes out and has 3 sacks, and they're like, well, I think we kind of thought maybe this is the end when we saw him just turning it on at the end of this season. That's kind of the perception of some of the guys here in the building in Denver. But I covered him on a daily basis before working at NFL Network in the prime of his career when he was winning those Defensive Player of the Year awards, winning 3 of them. I remember after the second one in 2014, I was sitting there in a press conference with defensive coordinator Wade Phillips, and I just said, hey, Wade, what do you think of JJ's season this year? And he goes, who, JJ Watt? Oh, greatest season ever. I mean, I'm not joking. Greatest season ever. That's what Wade Phillips thought of that 2014 season. I believe that's the one where he had over 20 sacks, 20 batted passes, over 20 tackles for loss. I've never covered a player, Andrew, and I remember sitting in the press box that season specifically next to the General John McClain, and where a player doesn't touch the football, they're not at a skill position, yet there's moments that you believe are going to happen to where they will win the game for the team. In 2014, that happened repeatedly with batted passes or fumble recoveries returned for touchdowns. He caught 3 touchdown passes that season, playing tight end. Just an unbelievable talent in that prime, virtually unblockable and unstoppable during those seasons.
And virtually unblockable and unstoppable the other night against the Buccaneers in a game that really didn't mean anything toward the Arizona Cardinals and their playoff hopes, which had been diminished already, or distinguished already, excuse me. Extinguished. That's the word. Distinguished is the word that I'm using for J.J. Watt and his career and the way that he played, the way that he finished the other night. Surely he knew more than we did with regard to that being his last home game, but that was the kind of things you saw on display for his entire career. Now go back to before this season, too. There were a lot of new chairs to be filled in NFL broadcasting. Amazon had to fill things out. There were some open spots at some other networks. There was interest in J.J. Watt, saying if you want to hang him up now, you got a chair at our desk you can just slide into. And by the way, there will always be a chair available for a guy who is a future Hall of Famer and is as good in the media as J.J. Watt has been. So I assume that that is going to be in his near to long-term future as far as broadcasting, and he will have networks that will welcome him. But Watt clearly wanted to come back for one more season. He had like $8.5 million fully guaranteed as well, but clearly wanted to play one more season and clearly had that season left in his body, Andrew.
Also wanted to stay in front, at least for now, of his brother TJ on the all-time sack list, who is quickly catching up to his older brother. J.J. Watt, the former Central Michigan tight end, thank you, gentlemen, decides to hang it up as a 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, a 5-time first-team All-Pro. He's a member of the All-Decade team from the 2010s. And most importantly, they're on the list. We call it the most prestigious honor this league hands out. Let's not forget his Walter Payton Man of the Year award and everything that he did there in Houston off the field. Brian Baldinger, Steve White. Steve, you're a Hall of Fame guy. First ballot here?
Yep. I mean, how can,
2028?
Yeah, I mean, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. So class of 2028, Hager, you can start cutting the fabric now for the gold jacket. I mean, he's look, the Pro Football Hall of Fame put it out there. They've already put it out there. But I mean, of course, I mean, this might be. We were talking earlier, one of the greatest draft classes at 2011. But you look at J.J. Watt. You know, you heard all the accolades: 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, all the tackles for losses, 5-time first-team All-Pro. Just a dynamic player. But, you know, Tom mentioned something I think that really hit J.J. hard this year. Is, you know, he had that heart issue. He didn't miss a game, but he had to get a quick procedure to kind of get his arrhythmia in line. That, besides, you know, the wear and tear on his body, that's probably the reality check. So I'm holding his baby with that beautiful family. All the dysfunction with the Arizona Cardinals this year, he probably said, let me go ahead and live the life I want to live now. I've done everything I can do on the football field. This is the time. He has treated us. He's one of the few defensive players you would pay money to see because of his game-changing ability. He has treated us. I mean, we can talk about him all we want, but what he's given back to this game, what he's given us as fans and viewers, Baldy, you can't.
Well, straight
put an
class.
adjective on it.
Straight class.
Yes.
And so, you know, you think about J.J. Watt, you think about all the accolades, but just studying him on film, you know, just watching his ability to dominate games. I mean, he was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald. And, you know, teams would game plan him, but the way that they moved him around, the moves that he had, the ability to just affect the quarterback week in, week out. He was the most dominant player defensively in this league for 4 straight years in a row, and he had all-decade team, all that kind of stuff, still playing at the highest level. I just like when players decide to exit with a smile on their face.
Yep.
He won't look back. We'll all have a chance now to really vet him properly. But really, I mean, J.J. Watt can walk away from this game knowing that he gave it everything he had.
Think about it. He broke his own news that he was going to Arizona. Remember all the speculation, where's J.J. Watt going? He broke it himself. He also controlled the narrative this time around.
Yeah, good for him.
Broke it with the photo this morning. And there were people that saw him walking off the field Sunday night, Christmas night, with tears in his eyes. And there was some speculation, well, maybe he knows things are going to be a lot different next year in Arizona. His contract is up.
Right.
This might be his last game there. No, it's his last game, period. What a career for J.J. Watt. And as Steve mentioned, 2028, book it now for Canton, Ohio.